afternoon. So this is a BMT for health, safety and well-being, and I guess I'm the well-being bit. So, first question then, what is well-being? Any thoughts? Too late in the day to be asking you to participate, I think. Okay, so for the last 6 months, I've been asking people in all environments, all businesses, in fact, what they believe the definition of well-being is. And would it surprise you to think that for every person I've asked, I've had a completely different definition? Ranging from the quite medical, probably scientific explanation for well-being, right the way through to the quite disparaging, it's that pink and fluffy stuff that HR makers do these days. So I thought it's time to go back to basics and just see if I can find out myself. So I did what most of us do in this day and age when you're faced with an unanswered question, and I went to Google. So I asked Google, what do you think well-being is? Lots of people leaping and showing their midriffs, okay? Or perhaps doing strange things with their arms. If you do well-being in the workplace, you get lots of businessmen doing cartwheels. I can't say I've ever felt like doing that in any job I've ever had. So what does the dictionary say? Well, it says this. It's a noun, and it's the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. So now I feel like I'm getting somewhere with something that's just a bit more useful to apply to the environments that we create. So I want you to remember those 3 words, comfortable, healthy, and happy. So why on earth is any of this important? Well, it turns out that ignoring the health of the physical health and the mental health and well-being of your people is quite a foolish thing for your bottom line. Because a recent study on the FTSE 100 companies said that those companies who focus on well-being and do it well, and that's quite important, I'm going to come back to that, outperform all of the other FTSE 100 companies by 10%. Now, this is a scary stat. UK sickness absence costs our nation £29 billion per year. That's a huge number. PwC did a study of 2,500 companies, which then entailed interviewing many, many thousands of people. And they asked them about sickness absence in general. 34% of people admitted to taking time off under false pretenses. And when asked why did you fake a sickie? The main answers that came back were because I'm bored or I'm stressed in my job. Of that 34%, a fifth of them said that family reasons were the real reason that they also faked a sickie, because the terms and conditions were so inflexible, they couldn't manage their personal life around their work life. Sean Anker wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. It is worth a read. And basically he said that we build this, we have this fundamental misconception about happiness. We often say that I'll work hard, therefore I'll be successful, therefore I'll be happy. Or I'll work hard in the gym, I'll lose weight, and then I'll be happy. And what he says is, that equation's completely the wrong way around. You have to turn it the other way. Because actually, neuroscientists looked at the brain, and when people are happy, they've proven that you're much more creative, you're much more motivated, you're much more productive. And that all contributes to the bottom line. The HSE also did a study on the main causes of stress at work, and they're these. So firstly, when we have too many demands, so if we feel too busy, with no clear direction, we feel stress. Control is a second source of stress, and that's either when we don't feel like we have control or we feel controlled, so if we feel micromanaged. The third is support. So if we feel there's a lack of coaching, mentoring, or even reward in our environment, we feel stress. Relationships, whether that's with your boss, with your peers, with your team, or any of your consequence providers that might be in your environment. Your role can be a source of stress. Do you have clarity in your job? Do you have responsibility? Apparently we crave responsibility in our job, even though that doesn't always feel like it. And then obviously change. So where we have uncertainty, it's one of the main causes of stress at work. So with all that in mind, what companies often do with really, really good intentions is they think we need a well-being strategy. So let's have a well-being strategy. But they don't always do it well. So sometimes they put a strategy in place that just focuses on the individual and only thinks often about the healthy. So remember I said it was comfortable, healthy and happy. They go straight to the individual. So sometimes they put up some kind of motivating desktop. So imagine that, you took 20 minutes to log on, you finally get on and you're faced with that. Or they say, we'll give you a bike to work scheme. So you've sat in traffic for an hour and a half to get to work, you've dodged death 1,000 times to get there, now we'd like you to do it on a bike, please. Or they fill the menu in the canteen full of healthy food, or they might give you free fruit or whatever, and that's them thinking, this is our well-being strategy. The problem with all of that is, it doesn't think about the person's starting point. So, I thought about all the jobs I've ever had, and you kind of have an idea, don't you? Was that a good job? Yeah, put that in the good job pile. Bad job, yeah, bad job pile. So you kind of assess whether you enjoyed or you didn't enjoy that particular job you did. And I was thinking, so how did I decide which pile that went into? And these were just personal to me, the things I thought about. So the first thing that determined whether I enjoyed a job was the task that job was about and its purpose. So did I know what I was supposed to do? Did the outcome have something, did it contribute something worthwhile? Did I get rewarded for doing it well? Or was I punished for doing the task? Or did it feel quite a horrible task to do? The second thing I would think about would be the behaviour of the people around me. So was good performance rewarded? Was poor performance tackled? Did my boss have behavioural integrity? So did what they say match what they did? Did my colleagues have behavioural integrity? And the third thing I would think about whether the job was good or bad would be the conditions I worked in. So did it take me 20 minutes to log on every single morning when I wanted to do a simple task? Did I have all of the equipment that I needed? Did I have to drive 26 times around the car park to find a space? Now, in the environments where I was working for a boss with zero behavioural integrity, and he'd said to me, so this time last year I was 6 stone heavier and 6 dress sizes bigger, and he'd said to me, you need to eat less and exercise more to help my bottom line. How do you think I would have responded to that if I was starting from a really bad place? Or if I am being given tons and tons of work while the person next to me does sod all day, and he says, I've got some things here you might want to do to relieve your stress. Again, I'm going to feel quite patronised and maybe even frustrated. So it depends on your starting point. It could be met with some of this. Smash your screen, the fruit will go mouldy, no one ever gets a bike to work. So I thought about really to get somebody to do a change, you've got to build trust. If you want somebody to do something different, and perhaps it might be about their own personal behaviours, you've got to start by building trust. And trust definitely takes time and effort. So I thought a little bit about trying to roll out BMT with the second big organisation that I rolled it out in, and how long it took me to actually get some traction with that. So if that's behaviour change up the left-hand side over time, it looked a little bit like this. So firstly, I started by building relationships with everybody that worked for me. Unfortunately, you have to do that even if you don't like them. If they work for you, you've got to start to build that relationship. I would try to look and find and catch people doing all the right things. You'll hear, I think Jack Sheehan said that on one of his videos. So let's try and catch people doing all the right things, because that gives you an opportunity to give them some recognition. So I started to ask for feedback and started to get it. So now I'm starting to see a bit of change happening here. So I'm asking for it and I'm actually getting it. So they must be starting to trust me. I then started to give feedback to them and they started to change their behaviour. So now we're definitely getting somewhere. I could then start to suggest some ideas of things we might try. And then the team members are suggesting it. And when they're suggesting it, they're actually then implementing it. I reckon that first bit, just the very first bit of me giving feedback and seeing a difference took me about 6 to 12 months to get to that place. So imagine if I'd come in and said, you lot need to eat less and exercise more, and here's a bike to work. You're not going to get anywhere in that environment without building the trust first. So I'm going to propose a completely new concept for well-being for you today, and that's what I've called the leadership bubble. So for the avoidance of doubt, my leadership bubble is a good thing. Think of it as bubble wrap. So this is you as a leader, and you might just be a leader of one other person. But this is you in an environment that you're responsible for creating, wrapping all the people in it in a leadership bubble. So this is you. Forgive me, these are my drawings. You can tell I'm an engineer, can't you? Not an artist. So this is you. This is a team of people that look to you for, and it might not be in an organogram, it might just be people who look to you for inspiration, or you're very influential, or whatever it might be in their environment. These are the demands that could come in around the outside of that little world. So unreasonable deadlines, additional work, a micromanaging boss, difficult relationships with stakeholders or customers or clients, an uncertain future, and maybe no clear direction. I coach lots of people who we spend the first half of the coaching session whining on about how everything's awful and that the whole world around them is so bad and I can't do anything. Well, unfortunately, as the leader, that's your responsibility to be looking after that. What you should be doing is protecting everybody within that world in this protective bubble. You have to deal with all the stuff on the outside, but if you want those people to perform, the very people whose performance you rely on for your own success, you have to wrap them in that bubble. And look ahead to the future. So what other things are coming in from the outside on that bubble? And this is what you need to fill your bubble with. Remember those 3 words, comfortable, healthy, and happy. So, removing silly frustrations, giving them the right materials and equipment so they can do the job, setting clear direction, even if you don't personally have it yourself, set the clear direction. Figure out what reinforces each and every one of them, and it is different. Figure out what reinforces them and use it. Provide coaching. Smile, be positive, and don't gossip. Apparently, body language, we mirror everybody's body language, good and bad, even if we fake it. The research shows that even if we fake a smile, people will smile back. And do what you say you will do. Because those 3 words, it's not just about giving people fruit and getting them on a bike. It's about you creating a world, a well-being world, where you're thinking about the people who work for you being comfortable, healthy, or happy. So comfortable, we've talked about Maslow's hierarchy earlier on. You've got to get all the basics right before you can even get anything more complicated. And that means, what does somebody's workspace look like? Can they park the car? Have they got PPE? Is their workload manageable? Do they feel like they achieve something at the end of every day? And are the deadlines you give them realistic? Healthy is both physical and mental. So yes, we've talked a lot about PPE and safety. Think about from the employee's point of view, ask them. I know with an organisation who's here today that I'm working with, they were talking about the staff would really like to do something at lunchtime like Pilates or yoga or something. Isn't it great? Let the staff say what they might want to do from a healthy perspective. And on the mental side of it, think about when pressure does become stress. Remember the things the HSE said that give us stress, and for everyone that will be different. And happy. Be deliberate about the environment that you want to create. Give your people certainty. Figure out what motivates each of them. Smile, say positive things, don't feel gossip, and have a laugh. Because just imagine in an organisation if everybody was the king or queen of their little leadership protective bubble, and they were creating all of the green things in green I mentioned earlier. Imagine how it would feel to work in that organisation. Thank you very much.